body has remarkable powers of healing and recovering from illness and injury. And what we once thought was a one-way street and you just can't repair, you can't get over these diseases, you can reset the system. And the body can really get rejuvenated in ways that in the future we'll wonder, why didn't we work on this earlier? The future of humanity is more like us walking around like Deadpool. We'll probably be cleaner and we won't smell as badly, but Deadpool, if you don't know.
What if you could slow down the rate at which you age? Won't that give you eternal life? This concept has intrigued neuroscientists for decades, and you will also watch this fictional concept in movies. But is it still fictional, or have the neuroscientists succeeded in unveiling the secret to aging slower? For that, one must know what leads you to grow older and ultimately reach the point of no return. Welcome back to another health and science-filled episode of NeuroDairy. In this video, we will tell you what neuroscientists say about the biology behind slowing and reversing the aging process. Perhaps it's not fiction anymore. Let's get started.
One of the genes goes up, two actually, number 1 and number 3. What we don't know yet is what type of exercise is optimal to get them to change. We will learn. We're doing work. Now it's revealed that we're doing work with the military in the US to try and understand that kind of thing. And I'll always tell you and the public when I don't know something. I'm not going to extrapolate. But what do? I base my exercise on the scientific literature, which has shown that maintaining muscle mass is very important for a number of reasons. The two main ones are you want to maintain your hormone levels. I'm an older male, losing my testosterone and muscle mass over time. And by exercising, I will maintain that and have. In fact, I probably haven't had a body like this since I was 20. So that's one of the benefits of having this lifestyle.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know, we did an episode on hormones, and there are data in humans that show that there are some males in their 80s and 90s where their testosterone is equivalent to the average of 25 and 30-year-olds. I can get you that information. It is really impressive studies. Unfortunately, they didn't include a lot of information about the lifestyle factors, et cetera. But this idea that testosterone goes down with age, it might be the trend, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite.
Right. I believe in naturally increasing and maintaining these hormone levels. And I've been measuring them for a long time. And I could see, for me, my testosterone levels were going down.
And then you got tenure and they went back up again.
No. I actually became complacent and it was the worst. Actually, my age changed in the wrong direction after that because I was relaxed.
Interesting.
And not worried about the future. But then I got serious and I actually, according to the Inside Tracker algorithm, got my age down from 58 to 31 in a matter of months. So that was a big drop. And I've been getting steadily younger over the last 10 years, according to that measurement, the blood tests.
What about estrogen? Because women are different in the sense that they do, the number of eggs and the ovaries change over time, right? Do you think that they can maintain estrogen levels over longer periods of time using some of these same protocols?
Well, yeah, I get into trouble from a certain university when I talk about this too much.
About estrogen?
Just about fertility and long story. That if I don't want to get too much into the anecdotes, but I'll tell you the science, which is that if you take a mouse and put it on fasting or caloric restriction for up until the point where it should be infertile. So that's about it. At a year of age, a mouse gets infertile, female mouse.
Due to fasting? Or
No,
simply to aging?
Due to aging.
Okay.
Due to aging. The fasting, it's not an extreme fast, it's just less calories.
Got it.
Then you put them back on a regular food and they become fertile again for many, many months afterwards. So the effect on slowing down aging is also on the reproductive system.
Interesting.
And so that I wouldn't say to any woman, I wouldn't think that they should become super skinny to try and preserve fertility. That's not what I'm saying. But these pathways that we work on, these sirtuins, are known to delay infertility in female animals. Case in point, I'm one of the lead authors on a paper where we used NMN. Remember, this is the gas, the fuel, the petrol for the sirtuins. we gave old mice, one group of mice was 16 months old. Remember, they became infertile at 12. Gave them NMN, and I think it was only 6 weeks later, they had offspring. They became fertile again, which goes against biology, textbook biology, which is that female mammals run out of eggs. Turns out that's not true. You can rejuvenate the female reproductive system and even get them to come out of mousopause, as we call it. So that's a whole new paradigm in biology as well.
That's super interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm reminded by a set of studies that were done by your former colleagues, because they're no longer there. David Hubel and Torsten Wiesel, my scientific great-grandparents, won the Nobel Prize for discovering what are called critical periods, this phase of early development when the brain is extremely plastic. And a big part of their work was to show that after a certain point, the critical period shuts down. Essentially, the brain can't change, or not nearly as much. And then people came along later and showed that you could open up these critical periods again, but very briefly, and it takes a very specific stimulus, essentially, high degrees of focus, et cetera. However, there's a well-known phenomenon in this literature where if you take an animal, and to some degree, this is being shown in humans as well, and you let them pass through the critical period, but then you essentially sensory deprive them. You take away experience, you close both eyes. You essentially reopen the critical period. So it seems like, and I couldn't help but mention this, that there's this parallel between what we're talking about here with fertility and neuroplasticity, where yes, there's a timer where certain things are available to the organism early in life, and then they tend to taper off. It's not an open and shut, but they taper off. But then a deprivation can actually reactivate the availability of that process. Forgive me, I just couldn't help but mention it. But to me, both of those things are associated with youth, fertility and neuroplasticity. And so I think that it'd be so interesting. I'd love to collaborate with you on this to explore how neuroplasticity might actually be regulated by these things like the sirtuins.
Right, and the sirtuins do control memory in neurons as well. So what I think is really interesting is that what we're learning from work that you and your colleagues have done, and in my lab as well, is that the body has remarkable powers of healing and recovering from illness and injury. And what we once thought was a one-way street and you just can't repair, you can't get over these diseases, you can reset the system and the body can really get rejuvenated in ways that in the future we'll wonder why didn't we work on this earlier? The future of humanity is more like us walking around like Deadpool. We'll probably be cleaner and we won't smell as badly, but Deadpool, if you don't know, can get injured and just recover. It's very hard to injure this guy. And we're going to be the same. There are many species, you cut off the limb grows back.
Salamanders,
Yeah, we are now learning how to tap into that system. And in part, what we're doing is reversing the age of those cells and telling them how to read the genes correctly again, reversing the age of that epigenome. And when you do that, the cells, the brain, for instance, the skin, we did the optic nerve.
Let's talk about those results for a second. Then I want to make sure that we return to some of these behavioral protocols. You had this amazing paper at the end of last year, cover article, full article in Nature, showing that essentially a small menu of transcription factors, which control gene expression, et cetera, could essentially reverse the age of neurons in the eye and rescue those cells against damage, essentially allow blind mice to see again and offset degeneration of these retinal cells. Incredible paper, and such a boon to the field. Where does that stand now in terms of human clinical trials? I mean, what are you envisioning in terms of the trajectory of those data from mice into humans someday?
Right. Well, to get to the point immediately, we're going to be testing the treatment on monkeys, just for safety reasons.
Sure.
And then the first patient should be done sometime in 2022, early 2023, and we're going to try to recover blindness.
This involves making an injection of a virus into the eye, right? Right now, there's no way that I am aware of to manipulate these transcription factors through a pill or some other.
That's what we're working on in my lab at Harvard right now. So it will be
pill-based modulation of transcription factors.
Well, yeah, pop a pill and the whole body gets rejuvenated by 20 years. That's what we're aiming for. Now we do it with gene therapy in the eye and other places. So in the eye, yes, it's a single injection. The genes go into the retina and we can turn it on with a drug called doxycycline. And we do that in the mice for 4 to 8 weeks. The eye gets younger. We can measure that because we can measure the clock. And then the vision comes back in those mice. And I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work in people because it's the same structures and mechanisms that are on in the human as well. Now
And it's one injection.
It's one.
I should mention injections into the eye. Obviously, nobody should do this outside of an ophthalmology clinic. And they're definitely by an ophthalmologist. But the injections into the eye are painless if done correctly by the right person. It sounds dreadful, but it's actually, I've seen it done hundreds of times. I've done it thousands of times, and it's not to myself, but to other creatures. And there's a way of doing this that's completely painless to the person.
Oh, you don't feel it. It's a tiny, tiny needle too. But the great thing about this is that it's a one-time treatment. Those genes go into the back of the eye and stay there forever. And you can just turn them on whenever you want. So what we found is you can turn them on in the mice, they get their vision back, and then you turn it off again. And so far, many months out, the benefit has remained. But if it does decline, we'll just turn it back on and reset the system, rinse and repeat. So one day, what's exciting is that we could potentially do this across the entire body and just take this antibiotic every 5 years and go back time and time again.
Eating every healthy food you can imagine, exercising, taking care of yourself, and adopting a healthy lifestyle will undoubtedly extend your lifespan. However, that's not something we don't know already, right? Dr. David Sinclair, professor of genetics at Harvard Medical School and an expert on extending the human lifespan, says there is a neurological system you can reset to slow and reverse aging. Dr. Sinclair talked about exercise that has shown groundbreaking results besides showing good health. Aerobic exercise in mice and rats increases their NAD or nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide level, preventing aging. Dr. Sinclair said that he himself had increased his testosterone and muscle weight levels that decline with age. His age is 53. However, he said he had not felt his present body since he was 20. In another experiment, when mice were kept on calorie restriction and allowed to age, they lost fertility. That's what age does. But they become fertile again when they are brought back to a normal diet. This means that age can be reversed because fertility could not have been brought again if that was not a reality. That's something defying the biology we know. Dr. Sinclair mentioned the experiments that show earlier incurable diseases being naturally healed by the body itself. In the same way, the body can reset the aging and neurological systems to slow and reverse aging. When cells of a mouse with amputated legs are told to produce another leg, they try to produce it. The same can be done with skin, eyes, brain, and all other cells, bringing young age back. Even that has been done in a study where blind mice are made to see again by the retinal cells. Dr. Sinclair is currently preparing an experiment on monkeys where a virus will be injected into the blind eyes and vision could be brought back. That gene could be turned on and off anytime one wants. The same applies to natural aging, which can be controlled, manipulated, and reversed shockingly. Do you think humans can prevent death and slow aging to live longer? If you don't believe it, how many monks live hundreds of years on average? Comment your opinions in the comment section right below. Would you like to watch more videos on neuroscience and health? If yes, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get the notification when we post the next episode. Thanks for watching, and until the next episode, stay tuned.